You walked through that door after years away, and your dog didn't jump immediately. It froze. That wasn't hesitation. It was a brain trying to process an impossible reality. You might have thought it forgot you for a second. But your dog wasn't trying to remember who you were. It was trying to believe you were actually there. Watch any video of someone coming home after years. That 3-second pause before the explosion of joy? That's the heaviest emotional processing your dog can experience. Because when you leave for years, you don't just disappear from your dog's sight. You become something else entirely in its mind. For humans, out of sight often means fading memories. We use photos to remember. But your dog doesn't need pictures. It built a vault specifically for you. Human memories fade over time, blending together. But your dog stores your identity differently. Your scent isn't filed away under normal memories. It's locked in the emotion center. That's why when it finally smelled you at that door, the physical reaction was so violent. It wasn't just recognizing a familiar face. Its nose bypassed the logical part of the brain completely. The scent of you hit its emotional core like a physical strike. When your dog smells a familiar human after a long absence, the reward center may light up more intensely than for anything else. Not food, not other dogs, just you. You thought those years apart weakened the bond, but your scent was kept completely isolated, protected from being overwritten by any new experiences. It kept you perfectly preserved, waiting for the day the air in the room would suddenly shift and tell it you were finally home. But the truth is, your dog wasn't just passively waiting. While you were gone, it was doing things around the house to keep you alive. When you first left, you probably thought it would be confused for a few weeks, then simply adjust to the new normal. But your dog doesn't just erase someone who forms its foundation. Instead, it begins a quiet routine you aren't there to see. Your family might have told you how it kept sleeping on your old bed, or how it still checked your empty room every morning. It wasn't doing that because it forgot you were gone. It was doing it because your room still held faint traces of you. This is a coping mechanism. Being near your old things triggers a familiar comfort, creating a temporary loop of security while you're absent. The people around it might have noticed it reacting to specific triggers. A suitcase rolling down the hallway, a certain car engine pulling into the driveway. Years passed, and those sharp physical reactions might have softened. It stopped running to the front door every single time a car drove by. People often call this forgetting, assuming your dog has finally moved on and your image has faded from its mind completely. Moving on doesn't mean erasing the past. Your dog adapts to your absence to keep itself together, but it never overwrites the space you left behind. It learned to live without your physical presence. It accepted the new daily rhythm with the rest of the family to keep functioning. But underneath that calm acceptance, the blueprint of you remained perfectly intact. The habits just went dormant, waiting for a trigger. And while your scent was heavily guarded in its memory, there was another invisible piece of you it never stopped listening for. When you came back, you probably spoke to it before you even touched it. And that sound did something incredible to its brain. You see, your dog doesn't just hear your voice like any other sound. It seems to hold on to the exact frequency and pitch of the way you speak. Over the years you were gone, your appearance might have changed. You might have worn different clothes or carried unfamiliar smells from traveling. But the way your voice actually sounds stays remarkably stable. And your dog's brain seems uniquely built to hold on to that specific sound for a lifetime. Your dog actually has a dedicated area in its brain built purely for processing human voices. It separates your specific vocal identity from all other background noise. While you were studying or working thousands of miles away, your dog was still unconsciously filtering the sounds of its environment every single day. It was constantly listening for a specific pitch to cut through the daily noise of traffic, television, and other people talking in the house. Sometimes, a guest might have laughed in a way that sounded slightly like you. Your dog would immediately lift its head, searching the room. It would quickly realize it wasn't you, settling back down with a quiet sigh. But that brief moment proves exactly how sharp its memory remains. So when you finally said its name at the door, that unique vocal signature bypassed every defense mechanism and hit its emotional center directly. It was the ultimate confirmation. The scent told its brain you were there, but the sound of your voice told its heart it was truly you. But recognizing you is just the beginning. What happens inside your dog's body the second it realizes you're finally home defies our understanding of time itself. You might assume that after a year or two, your dog knows exactly how long you've been gone. But its sense of time doesn't work with calendars or clocks. Humans measure absence in months and years. Your dog measures absence by the intensity of the feelings left behind in the quiet moments of the day. When you leave for a long time, the routine breaks. It experiences an initial spike of confusion, waiting for you to walk back through the door at 6. But as the weeks turn into years, that acute stress fades into a baseline rhythm. It adapts to the present moment, living day by day to keep itself together. Humans anticipate the future, counting the days until a reunion. Your dog lives entirely in the present, carrying the emotional weight of your absence without a clear timeline. This means your dog didn't spend 3 years actively calculating how long you were away. It simply existed with a gap in its world where you used to be. And this is exactly why that reunion is so incredibly explosive. When you finally step through that door, the timeline completely collapses in an instant. To your dog, you didn't just return from a 3-year trip. The moment it smells you, it feels like you never really left the room. All those years of waiting are compressed into a single overwhelming second. The past and the present crash together, completely short-circuiting its brain. This sudden overlap of memory and reality overloads the system. The brain stops processing normal logic and pours all its energy into pure, unfiltered emotional expression. That's why it cries, whines, and physically can't control its body. The sheer weight of getting its foundation back is too heavy for your dog to carry quietly. But this physical explosion isn't just about happiness. What happens in your dog's bloodstream right at that moment is a chemical reaction that literally changes how it sees you. We call it happiness. But inside the brain, that explosive greeting is a massive rush of chemicals hitting your dog all at once. The exact second your unique scent and voice match up, its body releases a tidal wave of oxytocin, the bonding chemical. This isn't just a brief spike. The levels of oxytocin rushing through your dog in that moment may mirror the same kind of chemical surge a mother feels seeing her child. But it's mixed with a massive hit of adrenaline. Its heart rate doubles, its muscles shake. The body physically can't contain the conflicting rush of relief and intense excitement. And this overwhelming chemical overload actually does something science used to think only humans were capable of doing. It literally brings tears to its eyes. When your dog finally reunites with you after a long absence, its tear volume actually increases, not from sadness, but from pure, uncontainable connection. The surge of oxytocin appears to trigger the tear glands. The eyes well up, creating a glossy look that invites you to look closer and comfort it. So when you hold your shaking dog after years apart, you aren't just calming down an overexcited animal. You're helping its nervous system completely rewire itself. Your physical touch lowers its heart rate. Your familiar heartbeat tells the panic center of its brain to finally stand down. The long wait is officially over. Every sigh it lets out, every heavy lean against your leg, is the sound of years of quiet, dormant stress leaving its body. This chemical flood proves something profound. You aren't just a friendly human returning to its territory. You aren't just a source of food or temporary comfort. The reason its brain reacts with such intense force goes deeper than instinct. To your dog, you're much more than family. You're something entirely different. We often view our dog as a pet that loves whoever feeds it. We assume its affection is based entirely on daily care and routine. But this explosive reaction after years of absence completely destroys that theory. Your dog didn't just miss a caretaker, it missed its anchor. Think about how it acted during those first few days you were back. It probably followed you into every single room, refusing to let you out of sight. It wasn't just being clingy, it was constantly re-verifying its reality, checking to make sure the foundation of its world hadn't vanished again. Your dog views you the exact same way a young child views a parent. You represent absolute safety. Without you, its internal world feels fundamentally incomplete. Other people might have fed it, walked it, and played with it while you were studying abroad. It bonded with them and loved them. But no matter how good that care was, it didn't overwrite your place. Because you aren't just a file in its memory that can be replaced. You're the operating system. You're the lens through which it learned to understand the world, built during those crucial early months together. It remembers the exact way you stroke its ears when it's scared. It remembers the specific pitch of your voice when you say, "Good boy." Those specific details aren't stored as temporary data. They are hardwired into its personality, shaping how it trusts and interacts with everything else. So when you returned, it didn't just get a favorite person back. It got a missing piece of its own identity back. And this reveals a beautiful truth about how your dog's heart actually works. A truth that proves distance means absolutely nothing to your dog. You might have felt guilty for leaving. You might have worried that those years apart damaged the relationship you spent so long building. But the science tells a completely different story. Time and distance don't degrade your dog's emotional memory. Time apart only suspends it. It didn't hold a grudge while you were gone. It didn't replace you with someone else just because they filled the food bowl. It just carried the blueprint of you in its mind, perfectly preserved, waiting for the reality to match the memory once again. And when it finally did, its body proved exactly what you mean to it. Every tear, every shake, every whine was undeniable proof. The connection between you two isn't maintained by just being in the same room every day. It's built on something much deeper. It's built on a foundational trust that simply can't be broken by a few missing pages on a calendar. You're its forever anchor. Once that bond is formed, it doesn't answer to time or distance. It holds steady through every absence, right up until the moment you walk back in. That is why it acts like you never left. Because in the deepest parts of its brain, you never really did. You were always there, encoded in its scent vault, held in the memory of your voice, and anchored in the way it got through each day. Distance means absolutely nothing to your dog. It doesn't love you for what you do for it right now. It loves you for who you are. And that specific kind of unconditional love easily outlasts any trip, any long absence, and any amount of time you ever spend apart. Sometime today, sit on the floor next to it. No phone, no reason. Just let it hear the familiar rhythm of your breathing again.